When you're up there speaking on stage, you speak from the heart. It's really the main point. And you want to speak from the heart because you want to capture the hearts of your audience. But how do you do that? How do you make sure that your heart story is something that's going to work for your audience? That's a challenge many speakers have, and I've had that challenge too. How do you really figure out what that heart story is? I've tried different things, tried to go around and do different ways, or approach it different ways, and then one day I saw something in a book that really kind of nailed it down for me. Helped me understand how to get that heart story across in an effective, interesting sort of way. And it starts with a book by Judy Carter called The Message of You. The Message of You. And in that book, Judy Carter talks about the importance of a heart story. You might be wondering, Tim, what the heck is a heart story? What is that? Well, that's simply the story about your own life, something that comes from your own life, a deep experience you have that really can help. Really somehow it's going to help, it's going to connect, it's going to work for your audience. Maybe you're thinking, yeah, Tim, I've got one of those stories. I know what that is. But maybe you, like me, have just struggled to figure out how you're going to get that story out there. Sure, you got a great story, you think, but what is it? What are all the parts? What are the things you really need to get across? And what's a mistake that many speakers make without even realizing it that just kills them at the beginning? All that comes across once you understand how a heart story works. And fortunately, a heart story is broken down like any other way to do things in a process. A three-step process. And this three-step process can really help develop and build your connection to that story. Because everybody's got a story. You lived a life, you did things happened to you, you learned things, you grow up, things happen. You've got some great stuff in you that the world needs to hear. But in order for the world to hear it, in order for people to be open to it, you have to put it in a way that's really going to connect, that's really going to make sense, it's really going to work when you present it. And that's what the heart story process is all about. The beginning is just, what do you do at the beginning? What really is kind of the overall structure of what you're talking about? What is it? Well, fortunately, it can all be kind of boiled down to a very simple point. A very simple point. Once you understand this point, then you start getting, oh yeah, that's what it's all about. And maybe it'll seem obvious, but it's really important to understand that. Then, once you get that, then the second part of the heart story is understanding a little bit more. Kind of what it's all about. What it's all about. And you're going to find out more about what that is that it's all about, and how to really make that work in a way that can help people. Because that's what it's all about. Coming up on stage and being able to help people. Well, what does that really mean? That's what you'll learn today. And then finally, there's something very particular, it's important. Very important. And without it, the whole thing kind of falls apart. But it's that last thing, the kind of the linchpin of the whole system that really has to be there. But once you have these three things, once you have these three steps, this process, then the heart story kind of opens up. Then you can open up your heart in a way to your audience that connects and engages and brings them in and makes them interested in what you have to say. It begins with that first step. challenge of speaking is figuring out where to start. And of course, the simple thing is start at the beginning. What exactly is that beginning? How does it work? A lot of speakers kind of blunder around and try to figure out, well, maybe I'll start here, maybe I'll start there. And at the end, they end up with something that really just kind of falls apart. And you can tell if you listen to it that you're thinking, yeah, they got something in there, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And frankly, I don't want to listen all the way through to figure out what it is, and that's it. Either you leave or you want to leave. Perhaps you've heard those speakers. Perhaps you've been one of those speakers. Now you're wondering how to make it better, how to make it all kind of hold together. And that really was what this first part is about. It's about when you go from the mess to the success. The mess to the success. At least that's the way that Judy Carter talks about it. The mess. Now the mess is easy, right? Life is messy. So talking about all the things that go wrong and all the problems and all the things that are just horrible, that's easy. And maybe you've started doing that in your speeches. I had this horrible time, I had a bad job or a bad life or a bad marriage or a bad this or a bad that, or I was in debt or I was broke or whatever it is. And things are just really messy and horrible and awful. And maybe you get into that. Oh, it was really bad. I had no money, and then I thought I was going to get some money in, and it didn't happen, and I was just completely broke, and every dime I had just went out. The thing about it is that a lot of speakers kind of get stuck in that mess. They just go over and over about how awful it is, or horrible everything is. And just on and on and on. Their speech goes, oh, life sucks. And they create what could be called a sucks to be you speech. All the way you're thinking, boy, that speaker's got a lot of problems. Sure glad it's nothing to do with me. I'd hate to have all those problems. The sucks to be you speech. Not where you want to be. So how do you get out of that? Well, that's where you got the other part. The mess, yes, of course, starts with a mess. But it does go to a success. And here comes a kind of obvious thing that maybe some speakers don't think about. If you haven't had a success, you really don't have much to talk about. If all you've got is this big mess in your life, and you got no clue how to get out of it, there's no point going on stage. And you may be thinking, Tim, that's harsh. I mean, come on. Everybody's got a message. Everybody's got a thing they got to say. Yes. Everybody can talk about how awful and horrible their lives and what the big victim they are. That's fine. The problem is that doesn't mean that people should be listening to you. My life is horrible. I'm this victim. And then what? Your life still stinks. And you're thinking, tell me somebody who is actually able to get out of that problem. That's what I want to know. Who's the person able to have a success? Who's the person who now has a success? So that's really important. If you are having a really bad life and you can't see your way out of it, etc., then figure out a way out. Ask somebody, read some books, study some things. Figure out how you're going to get out of that. Because just going up on stage and complaining about your life for 45 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever, it's not a motivational speech. It's a demotivational speech. Gotta have a success. Somewhere along the way, something has to have worked out. It has to just kind of all come together and then, hey, now I'm better. So the idea is, things are really bad, now everything is really better. Mess to success. That's great. So you have a success now, hopefully. So you got out of that problem. Now things are better. Maybe you were really broke, and now you got millions of dollars. Maybe you didn't know what to do, and now you have this clear life plan in front of you. Maybe you were not attractive, now you're gorgeous. Whatever it is. It's this type of pattern people want to see. Things are horrible, 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 and then things get better. That's the success part of it. So, first step of that hard story is mess to success. And then comes a more important second part. We got it. Your life's a mess. And somehow you had a success. It's great. That's wonderful. And if you could just stop, you might be thinking, Tim, hey, I'll just stop there. Mess, success, done. But that's not really going to work. Because if that's all there is to it, why should the audience be involved? I mean, great, they'd say, hey, you're successful now, wonderful. What does it have to do with them? Things were awful, now they're better. Great. But why am I here listening? You could just email me that. Hey, I had a bad day. Now everything's better. Fantastic. Give me a call. You don't need to get up on stage for 45 minutes or 30 minutes and talk about that. It's not going to help anybody. Unless there's something you learned. Something you learned. And this is where it gets a little bit more in depth. Okay, you had a mess, you got a success. What did you learn? What really did you get out of that experience? And sometimes it'll be obvious. Hey, I had no money, got money now, I learned, hey, money's good. I like money. I like having more money than not having money. Or, hey, I was all this sort of money all the time, I was unhappy, I got rid of everything I owned, and then, now I'm happy. Of course, if you really do that, get rid of everything you own, you probably aren't giving motivational speeches about that, you're probably in some sort of a place out there just kind of meditating and that sort of thing. But anyway, if you want to talk about that, great. Mess, success, fine, but what did you learn? Because that's what the audience wants to know. Okay, I get it, you had this problem, you overcame it, but what did you really get out of that? Because the audience is thinking, hey, what am I going to get out of that? What can I learn from you? That's the big thing. What can I learn? Hey, I learned that growing money is good. Getting more money is good. I learned that appearances matter. I learned that in order to speak well, I have to have a hard story. What did you learn? What it all comes down to. Because if you did learn something, your audience could learn something. If you took away something from that, then your audience could say, hey, yeah, okay. Now I got an opportunity to learn. Now I got an opportunity to learn from you. And the great thing is, since you went from mess to success, presumably you learned something that they don't have to go through that. Instead of saying, oh man, I was broke for 20 years and then I just got better and now I've got more money and I learned something in that process, that means your audience doesn't have to go through 20 years of being broke in order to learn something from the process. They can just cut right to the chase. Boom, instant learning. And that's kind of the benefit of motivational speaking. That's something that took you years to go through to be able to learn, understand, and grasp. They have the opportunity to get like that. That's the great thing about it. Your audience can learn instantly what you learn. If they just open the message, great. They can learn it. Learn that, hey, you know, from mess to success, I learned that having more money, be able to know where your money is, that's a good thing. Being able to have money coming in instead of being able to pay your bills, it's a powerful thing. That's what you learned. Okay, you're almost there. You're almost there with your heart story because you got that mess, you're growing to success, that's great. Now, and you're learning something, you're getting something out of it. But there is something still missing. Something still not quite there. And that's what the audience is waiting for. All right. First of all, congratulations. You had all this mess, you had these problems, you now have success, wonderful, and you learn something. Great. That's wonderful. Now you've got certainly something you can talk about. You can get up there and talk about and go on and on about, 30 minutes, half an hour, 45, but whatever. Whatever it is, you can do it. However, for your audience really to get something out of it, they're kind of waiting for something. There's still something missing because, okay, you went from a mess, you went to success, you learned something in the process, but what can you teach me? What can you teach me? Yes, you went from a mess. Yes, now you're a success. Hey, you learned some wonderful things. What can you teach me? In other words, what is the process that you use to make that happen? Hey, I'm buying in. Boy, the stuff you learned, I want to learn that too. I want to get that. I want to learn how wonderful it is to pay down my bills and to have all that extra money coming in. I want to learn how it is to be pretty. But how did you do it? What can you teach me? So I can learn that lesson too. But much quicker because you had to go through years to do it, and I don't want to go through years. I just want to have it right then. And that's really what it's all about. Here's a mess, here's a success, here's what I learned, great, that's all wonderful. But really what people want, they get interested, okay, yeah, I got the attention, I understand what the content is, but they really want that technique, that process, that step-by-step way of doing it. Maybe it's just one thing. Boom, here's a simple secret that I can teach you. Or something else. Here's a whole process. When you learn, you get it, you understand, and then things open up to you. And you get all those great things I talked about. Which means you got to kind of understand how you went from mess to success. If your answer is, well, I was broke, I didn't have any money, but then one day I inherited $1 million, boom, all my money problems were over. Well, can you see that's not going to help people? Well, I was broke, things were happening, but then I hit the lottery. Boom! Hey, I got $35 million, $100 million, $200 million. I hit the lottery. And you can do it too. Probably not. No. No, that's not going to help. So even if you go from mess to success, you have to have something that you did, that you learned, that you found out. Someone taught you, ideally. Someone taught you. That you figured out, that you read in a book. That you can now share. And help other people have the same result without going through the same work. That's the deal. That's the deal up there. Say, okay, took me 30 years to figure this out. Finally did. I learned some great things, and here's how you can have the same results without going through 30 years. If you just follow this step, just follow these processes. If you do this thing. And that's what people are there for. That's what they're waiting for. Just give me an answer. Give me an answer. That's what they really want. And if you can do that, if you can give that thing, here's the technique, here's the process, here's the steps you go through. Boy, if you can teach that audience so they get something they can take away and boom, they don't have to go through all that mess. They can just have the success. And that's really what it's all about. So motivational speaker, inspirational speaker, just get rid of the mess. Hey, I'm just going to give you the success. You don't have to go through the mess. You'll get instant success just by doing this. So while you, the speaker, had to go through the mess to get to success, the idea now is that, hey, we'll cut out the mess for you. You, the audience. Hey, you'll benefit. Do this, instant success. That's something you can teach your audience, and that's the basis of your heart story. To really connect with your audience, you have to connect with their heart. To do that, you need a heart story. There are three things in a heart story. One important thing is mess to success. Mess to success. And mess to success is key because, well, if you just have a mess and everything's bad and you never really gotten anywhere and everything's horrible, why would the audience want to hear your story? Everything's awful. I never been able to just... There are plenty of people out there who have awful lives and never been able to achieve anything. That is not a rarity. That is not something special to get up on stage. So the mess, yes, but there has to be some success after it. Some success where you go from where you were to up here. Otherwise, there's no point at all. But if you got something you really worked on, you really struggled with, you had a hard time your whole life, then boom, you got up there. You climbed that mountain, you got to that top, you got that success. Okay, that's interesting. And the second step is, what did you learn? What did you really learn? And that also the audience wants to know. You went through all this difficulty, all these problems, you struggled all the way your whole life to get up to this success. What has it taught you? What did you learn? What's the results you got out of that? So you want to know. You learn there's a way to get up there. You learn there's a way to get from where you are to up here. It taught you that there is this great way to go and do things. That you don't have to stay in that horrible place. You can get out of it. And that's what all that messing and that's what all that struggling taught you. That's what you learned. So I'm just waiting for, there's a way out. Thank you, there's a way out. And then of course, once you say there's a way out, and you learn there's a way out, then you got to teach them the way out. Then you got to teach them the way out. So, okay, here is how to do it. Which means that if you have a mess and a problem, and you had an instant overnight success, probably you didn't really have any technique or any method to do that. You know, I put out 1,000 movies, and one of them caught the sight of some agent, and, you know, that became a big seller, and I got a $35 million option for the rights to the script. Great, but that's not really any big secret. Hey, throw out a billion things out there and maybe one will hit. No. Or, I had no money and suddenly I got an inheritance, I hit the lottery. Whatever it is, somebody just randomly came up and gave me $1 million, and now I got money. Again, your audience is not going to be able to have that happen in their lives. There has to be a process. There has to be a technique, a method to get from where you are, a step-by-step method. Now, maybe you're not aware of what that is. Then find out. Figure it out. Take the time, go back, figure out what got you from here to here. What did you do? What changes happened? What did you have to do in your life to make that happen? That's what the audience wants to know. Because the goal is to cut out the mess. Cut out the mess, all success. Cut out the mess, all success. They want a technique. They want something you can teach them to make that happen. So at the end, instead of having to struggle and go through all the problems you had, they just, boom, they just go and get it. And once you have this heart story that touches your audience's heart, then not only remember what you're talking about, but it impacts them. It stays with them. That deep emotional learning, deep emotional knowledge, those heartfelt stories about your struggle and what happened, that'll stay with them. That'll transform them. That they won't forget. So you have a heart story, you'll have that audience forever, and they'll call you up again and again and again saying, hey, got to hear that story one more time. I love the way you tell it. So if you really want to be a good speaker up there, capture your audience's heart.